host on and Roku TV's World Edition. I want to thank you from wherever you are in the world or country to attend the show. I greet you live from North Carolina, the eighth largest state in the United States of America, and Morrisville, which is in the Research Triangle Park, an all America city. Today, I want to first of all say I've been kind of hit and miss the last few weeks. Business is picking up and traveling a lot, taking on some new roles at WPTF and PBS Carolinas, but I will, to the extent I can be here, I'll be here more consistently next week. I want to go ahead and open up the show. I have to leave in about 10 minutes, but basically today, my monologue is based on, first of all, the continuing war in Israel. Today, about 1.1 million Palestinians have been asked to flee Palestine. Prime Minister Netanyahu is asking in the middle of significant bomb strikes against both civilians and military facilities in the Gaza Strip that they flee, but they have nowhere to go. Israel won't let them in. Egypt is one way, but the Palestinian leader is asking them to stay because he does not want them to leave their own land. Thousands and thousands of Palestinians and Israelis are dying, and it's just a terrible situation, a very dense area. While all this is going on, Secretary of State Blinken is in the Middle East, along with Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, trying to work out a compromise with Benjamin Netanyahu to at least reduce civilian casualties. Now, I think as I end this monologue today, I think the question we have to ask ourselves is America in dysfunction? While we have a war in Ukraine, which we haven't talked about the last few weeks, we want to get an update on what's going on there. We also don't have a Speaker of the House. So our Congress, because Steve Scalise was denied the nomination and now they cannot find the votes, we cannot pass funding or legislation to Israel. We cannot provide funding to Ukraine. We cannot pass laws in our country while our nation and world is at a state of war. Keep in mind, Americans are dying in Israel as well. About 27 Americans have died, and President Biden is in a significant, terrible international crisis that's emerging. While all of this is going on, we also have China, North Korea, and other enemies of the United States of America. I think it's fair to say that the leader of the free world, a superpower since World War II, is definitely not looking like a superpower today. And I would say that we are dysfunctional in every sense of the word, a divided, polarized nation, an 83-year-old incumbent president, many say too old to lead our nation as our commander in chief, a 76-year-old former president who's been charged on multiple crimes. And even if he is elected president, will he pardon himself? Will he have to serve a prison sentence as our president? I mean, all of these things are making it sound like a scene out of House of Cards or a Tom Clancy novel. Pick whatever you want. But at the end of the day, it is a really, really different time in our country. And so we're going to go ahead and set the stage for that conversation. The other things to talk about today is I just want to say that we've got Hamas continuing to unload attacks, and Russian Ukrainian troops have engaged in fierce fighting around Avdiivka, a town in eastern Ukraine. And the final thing I'll say is that America will block Iran from getting access to the $6 billion in Iranian funds that was transferred to Qatar last month in exchange for the release of imprisoned Americans. Republicans have slammed President Joe Biden for making it available to Iran, even with strict restrictions since Hamas's attack on Israel. So this is all that we're going to talk about today and other issues that concern us. We want to welcome Mark Lee. I'm here for about 5 more minutes. I might chime in on phone on my way to my destination, but Mark, I set the stage for you today for a...
No problem. You definitely set the stage, and we've got other people that are here as well. And all along those lines, I think Nick Palveda is here. Definitely Sasha Starr is here. And Lee Noon Rhodes is here. I was actually going to just steer away slightly from the international thing because we definitely have something going on in the United States as well. And that is what you alluded to earlier. And I know that you're in the political lane. So since you're here, I was going to want to know your thoughts about that, because apparently, as you mentioned, we don't have a Speaker of the House, and the one that was the front runner has withdrawn. So Steve Scalise has said that, he's not going to be running and all along those lines. So he has withdrawn, and that has apparently sent the House into further turmoil because he has definitely dropped his bid for Speaker, leaving the Republicans without a nominee, because I think that Jim Jordan was the other one that was running, and I'm not sure where his campaign stands and all along those lines. But since you're in the political lanes, what do you think about this? Will we ever get a Speaker? Will we get the Speaker before, let's say, the end of October and Halloween and everything? Or will there actually be a Speaker in the near future and all along those lines? Because I was actually
and that's interesting. And I guess here's a trivia question. Here's a trivia question for all of you, and you can phone a friend if you want. But typically, the Speaker of the House is the third in line for the presidency. So, assuming that there was a catastrophe or something that happened, who would be the fourth in line for the presidency? Because now we don't have a Speaker. So, Mark, do we have any takers on this question? And I don't have any prizes, but I will give you the answer. The fourth in line for the presidency is United States Senator Patty Murray from the state of Washington, who is the Senate President pro tem.
Right.
And so she is the fourth in line. And that could be an interesting clue. How do you go down the line? Who's the fifth in line? Who's the sixth in line? Who's the seventh in line? But, I think that this is also concerning that we don't have a Speaker. I've never in my life thought we would ever be in this situation in our country. And, they may not be able to pick a Speaker until the end of the year, which means, how are they going to fund the government, which I forgot to mention in my monologue. They have until November. And I guess they could perhaps pick an interim Speaker, which could be North Carolinian Patrick McHenry. We know that he was the one that struck the gavel down pretty hard. But with that being said, I just don't know. So,
it'll be interesting to see. And I don't know if Sasha's got any thoughts about that as well. That could actually be an issue, even as you said earlier, about getting aid and getting aid for folks that are looking for aid, whether that is Israel or whether that is Ukraine or a number of other spaces as well that are looking for aid. So what is your thoughts about this turmoil that apparently we are in our own United States political system and everything, Sasha? So does this concern you? Because I do know that it is a matter, as Steve alluded to, even when it comes to getting aid to Ukraine or getting aid to Israel and a number of other conversations that could be out there as well.
I think it's largely design of a Republican Party headed by Trump to completely dissolve American government system. Without the Speaker, there is no Congress. There's no decision could be made of any kind. So that could be used easily by Trump and his electoral machine to show that Democrats, Biden, whoever they are, they're incapable to govern, and therefore they must be not re-elected. And this is, in my opinion, most likely we are going into, because I don't even understand the procedure. Okay, since he withdrew his nomination, Scalise, so who is next in line, how the next in line will be chosen. So before it was a choice between Scalise and Jordan. Okay, so Scalise is out. Does it make Jordan a nominee? I'm not so sure about it. And even if it does, I don't think that he has enough votes.
I think Patrick McHenry may be a contender, but he's from North Carolina. He was the Speaker pro tem of the House. But this is really a dysfunctional situation, and I'm gonna leave and call from the car if I have time. But we've been so focused on Israel war that we haven't been talking about Ukraine, and so it's very interesting. We have two wars now going on in the world. I do think that we are in dysfunction with no Speaker of the House. Will the government continue? I don't know, Jacoby. I mean, this is really something out of a House of Cards or Tom Clancy. I mean,
What's so crazy though? Think of the extreme dysfunction. You have holes in the military while two wars are going on. Those holes in the military where the appointments can't happen and the transitions can't happen because of the GOP. You have Tommy Tuberville holding up the actual appointments for the military. So that's a dysfunction there. You have also, again, as you're talking about, this is just ridiculous how I had sent out a post talking about this on, I think it was Facebook, talking about how it's easy to sit back and complain and talk about all the bad and, oh well, I could do it. But it's easy to do that, but in terms of governing, that's the tough part, and that's what the GOP have shown that they are incapable of doing with all this dysfunction at this moment. And what's also crazy is that it seems like you have in the House a bunch of people that are power hungry and cannot decide on who wants that power. So you have, Gates deciding he wants all this power, or Jim Jordan, who should be in jail. Both Gates and Jim Jordan should be in jail. Gates should be in jail for going after underage girls, and Jim Jordan should be in jail for his actions within the Ohio State rape case. But you have, it's just crazy, the dysfunction that's going on. And what will end up happening, watch, there will be somebody who will come out as the House leader, because they'll get to a point. And then next year, all the ads will come out talking about how poor the government is.
Politically, though, well, I think that this could protect, perhaps, and we haven't really talked about this, and unless I'm going to get in the car and head to my next meeting, but I think politically, this could help the Democrats regain control of the House. Because I now think there's an argument to say that the Republicans cannot govern effectively. So you got to like the fact they could pick up some House seats. Hakeem Jeffries could become the speaker, and he's like an Obama-like, very charismatic figure. So I do think you're going to see the House turn hands. And of course, now Donald Trump, believe it or not, has pulled ahead in the polls against Joe Biden. So, I mean, could you have a President Trump and a Democratic? I mean, this thing is just.
Well, you know what, even thinking about the whole Trump thing, and I tried to bring it up a little bit yesterday with the war in Israel and how everybody's trying to back Israel and everybody's saying, hey, we need to stop the anti-Semitic stuff. Well, in a speech, what was it, yesterday or day before yesterday, Trump went out on stage complaining about Benjamin Netanyahu and how poor he was. And so he's already, and he, again, he's had meetings and done a lot of stuff with some anti-Semitic people. So it's just wild how the GOP, or how cult-like that base is at this moment, that's just so dedicated behind Trump, no matter what he does. I mean, that whole base talks about they're pro-Israel, yet he goes out and attacks Israel.
Yeah, he attacked the Israeli leader. He definitely said things about the intelligence that was out there and the intelligence that was not acted on by Israel. And he also said some other things that were praising not so much Hamas, but Hezbollah, because I think that he called them very smart. And that was his exact quote. And he even attacked Netanyahu as being this jerk. And part of that is because he feels that Netanyahu, when he was in the presidency, did not back him when he was going against one of those terrorists himself, and all along that line. So there is some history between them, and it is not always favorable history. So I don't know if Sasha's got any thoughts about that, because there is a possibility that he may wind up being, and I know that a lot of folks here are not hopeful of that, but there are some people, including Nick, that said that he is feeling that he could be the president in 2025. And if that is the case, there will be some interesting history between him and several world leaders, including the current leader of Israel. And there's even some talk, and I don't know whether Sasha has heard this, but there is some talk that some folks are not pleased with the way that Netanyahu has handled this particular situation. And there's even some talk that after the war is over, that he may be out of office there in Israel, because there are some folks that are upset, and there is some criticism that is going on about the way that he has handled this particular war effort and all along those lines. And definitely no forgiving of what Hamas did or anything along those lines, but there is definitely some criticism about what he might have known and what he might not have acted on. And there is definitely some strong sentiment, from my understanding, from some Israel citizens that after the war is over, that one of the casualties of the war, in terms of political casualties, may be his seat in office, and all along those lines. So it'll be interesting to see how this all plays out. But any thoughts around that, Sasha? Because that's something I've been hearing for, and I think I alluded to that yesterday. I've been hearing that for a few days, and I do have some friends that are part of the Jewish community and all along those lines. So any thoughts about that as well?
Mark, your question was 5.5 minutes long, and I would need at least 17.5 minutes to answer your question, and I will try very hard to answer your question. Okay, let's go step by step. Number one, Trump doesn't care anything anyway about either Netanyahu or anybody else. He cares only about himself. That's all what he cares about. So all the rest, he's almost like trying to please his base. So he's saying Netanyahu is our greatest friend. The base says, okay, maybe he is. Okay, let's try this one. Netanyahu is a stupid idiot and he's enemy of the United States. So the base says, well, we like it, yeah, probably that's what it is. So now he figured out that the base likes a message that Netanyahu is an enemy of the United States, so he will go on into that direction, because that's what he figured out is more pleasing the base. What worries me a lot is the reaction on what's happening now in Israel and Gaza, reaction of the left in American colleges and universities. This is a very extremely dangerous place, because this is where the future of the country is being raised. And instead of studying sciences, whether it's physics or biology or math or anything, they are spending all their time on political questions, such as, let's support Hamas, Intifada, let's do it, okay. And they're marching on campuses, and most of the professors in these universities, in order to, just as simple as being alive, they have to go along with that, or at least not openly criticize that movement. This is the most despicable demonstration of what is American colleges and universities are all around. It's becoming an institution for all kind of morally despicable people. And I think the parents of their students, they're trying to get rid of them and just say, okay, go to Harvard, go to Yale, go to somewhere else. And there they are infiltrating each other. And there are some leaders for sure who are saying, oh, Israel is their aggressors, there's this, and America is aggressor, and that is so, and this is so.
Sasha, you can say that I was long-winded and all along those lines, and I definitely want to hear from Toby, but here in the Carolinas, in both Duke and UNC, you can't say that it has been one-sided, because actually the counter-protest, I want to say that it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Toby, but the counter-protest was very much Israel counter-protest, and it was also very much professors that were on the side of Israel. So it is not a one-sided conversation on our universities and everything, because there was a conflict and there was a counter protest in, like I said, I think it was UNC, and it was actually led by a UNC professor who was actually, I think, sent off and all along those lines, because the police actually got him off because he was in the face of some of the counter protesters that were in the pro-Palestine side. So there are definitely some pro-Israeli sides, and they are represented by both faculty on. They're represented by faculty on both sides, and even sometimes when people come out in kind of condemning, which is what people are asking them to do, and I think that is rightful. They are giving this some pushback, because actually the Harvard president, Claudine Gay, who is a African-American woman, has fiercely condemned Hamas, and definitely she has also got some pushback because of she rejecting calls to punish the students and all along those lines. So definitely there are some interesting conversations that are going on. But I will turn it over, since you said I was long-winded
What
last
makes
time,
this
to
conversation?
Jacoby and everything. So Jacoby, any thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, again, what's happening right now is people are picking sides, and we're not having a conversation. And yes, you are having some of the extreme voices getting the most camera time because that gets the most clicks. And yes, you have the most extreme on both sides. But again, yes, on college campuses, you do have those that are protesting, pro-Palestinian protesters. You have pro-Israel protesters. That's all happening on campus. And yes, but it's not one-sided. That is something that is not true. There are people picking sides, and people are protesting each other, and there are counter protests and protests from the Israeli, from pro-Israel to pro-Palestine. So you have protests happening. The discussion is not happening though, and that's where the college campuses need to work towards, because it is a place where conversation should be happening, education should be happening, but it's not. So until that happens, yes, you're going to still have one side loud, next side loud, one side loud, next side loud. The issue is, again, you have to understand that we have to really, us as the adults, have to understand and delineate and really educate. The Palestinian people are not Hamas. The innocent Palestinian people that are getting murdered and killed in the Gaza Strip, they're not Hamas. We have to pray for them just as we pray for those Israelis that are getting killed and that are beheaded. We have to condemn Hamas. We have to give an opportunity for those Palestinians who are trying to run to have that opportunity. Right now, they are not having that opportunity. There are people that are getting locked into positions. And I see Lee can say, you can be pro-Palestinian and call out evil. That is true. Hamas is evil. But you can help out the Palestinian people and not say, and then you can ask for help for the Palestinian people without being seen as. We have to understand we can't.
What a complete waste
Just one very quick question.
Waste of time. Nobody, the college students are not going to solve this problem. The media is not going to solve the problem. And frankly, you're going to have your influence is next to zero. Here's the person who has a lot of influence over this. Oh, there he is, Netanyahu, a graduate of MIT, by the way, master's degree in engineering. He will invade, he will destroy most of the Gaza Strip. Here's the other group that has a lot of influence on it, and it's not just Netanyahu. Let's go find the other group. It is Hamas. Hamas will not listen to anything that you say. You're wasting your breath. You're wasting your time.
But
might as well
you're missing the point.
Right, China. Go study science.
You're missing the whole point.
Biology. Pay your student loans.
Nick,
but don't even bother to talk to Hamas.
Nick,
they're not going to listen.
You're missing the point.
We got two groups that won't listen. So you're wasting your time. Go back to
Incorrect.
School. Student loans.
Having students, and hang on a second, Nick, and I think that this might be what having students always had a concern and have raised issues around issues, both global issues as around national issues. I think about the students involved in the civil rights struggle. I think about the students involved in the anti-Vietnam War and all along those spaces. So to say that students don't have a right to express their concerns or to have their issues brought up. And by the way, some of these protests were led by students that were from that particular area, and some that might have some connections to those areas as well, both on the Israeli side as well as the Palestine side.
And then the top off of that,
anti-war protests during Vietnam.
You should learn this
I understand that, and there were a lot of anti-war movement in the United States, not only on campus, but overall in society. However, this time is something different happening. On October 7th, when all that happened in Israel by Hamas, how many Arab or Muslim countries condemned Hamas? Can you anybody tell me?
Probably zero.
Zero. Okay,
Yeah.
zero.
No,
So
plenty of
there's
people
no
condemn Hamas and
condemnation
what
of
they've done with the
fear.
That is
capitals.
not true, because there were several
That
that
is
came out
incorrect,
against Hamas
Sasha.
and came out against the massacre, including some of those that were like Egypt and some of the others that are considered moderate. So
Sorry,
to say-
what did exactly Egypt says on October 7th? What
I want to say that there were several, and I will fill them up and everything, but there were several Muslim countries that did come out against
Yeah.
the attack, and they came out with some of their
And-
leaders and everything. But like I said, I will
But here-
pull it up for you
At
and
the
everything. But
best-
there was some conversation around even the Muslim leaders, so to
There's
say
no
that they did
saying-
not say that is not a
There's
fair
no
statement.
saying-
That's not true, Mark. At the best, they were not critical of Hamas. They were saying simply that they regret that happened or so on, but nobody openly criticized Hamas.
See, this is the problem that we fall into. This is the problem that we fall into. And I'm glad that you brought the acronym back up, because it isn't a waste of time. And I'm going to touch on all things that you said were a waste of time. One, I'm going to work backwards. Sasha, the problem that we fall into, and you're asking for all the Muslim countries to say a particular verbiage that you can approve and agree with. But
You put
they-
your words
wait,
in
let
my
me
mouth.
finish.
I never
Let me
said
finish.
everything what
No,
you
let
just
me
said.
finish.
I never said
You just
today,
stated,
yesterday, or any other
you
day.
just stated that no Muslim country has come out against it. And then you said, well, they came out a little bit against it, but not the way that I wanted them to.
No, I didn't
That's
say
the
so
problem.
at all.
And then number two, when you said it's a waste of time, though, Nick, and are you saying, and you're a lawyer, so I'm going to ask the witness. And witness, could you please comply to these and answer these questions for me? Are there Palestinian Americans?
Are there Palestinian Americans?
Yes.
Okay. Please define.
Play along. I want you to just play along with this, because this will help.
I can't play along with it because you got to define a Palestinian American.
Are there Americans who come from Palestine? Palestinian American.
Yes.
Are
Americans.
there Israeli Americans?
Yes. There's the way you define it. Yes.
Those Palestinian Americans and Israeli Americans, do you think that the war itself could put them in danger if someone were to view them as evil?
Yes.
So, in a protest, this isn't a protest to change the minds and hearts of Netanyahu and Hamas. In a protest, for example, the protests that Mark described, talking about the civil rights protests, those civil rights protests, were they to change the hearts and minds of the people in government to allow for civil rights for the African American community?
But here's the reason it's a
Wait,
waste of time.
just play along
Okay.
with me real quick.
It's a waste of time because
No.
more people
You've
in
already
the United States died of fentanyl
you
than
see
all these things you're
you
discussing.
see the flaw of your
combined,
argument, and
Sophie.
that's what
It's a
you just
waste
saw.
of time.
It is not a
Okay,
waste of time
I'm
because you
just
saw
pointing
the
out
flaw
right
in your argument and you
More
ran away
people in the
back
United
to that.
States will die
The
of
reason,
fentanyl overdose.
the reason
your
it is
discussion,
not a waste of
It
time
won't even
with
be
the
close.
protests
That's
that are going
what
on,
you're
Nick.
doing.
You know
is-
there are Israeli and Palestinian Americans that have their lives in
and-
danger
and
because
you-
if we
you have
allow
no-
the
you have no
protests
power over it.
themselves to just peak,
Hey,
and
hey,
this
Toby,
one group of
I
individuals
tell you
create
what, go
all
out
this
and
hate,
protest that the sun's
Jacoby,
coming up.
creates
Jacoby,
danger within America,
you know,
and that
Toby,
creates a problem.
It's very dangerous demagogy what you're just saying, because what, according to you, okay, there is one side Palestinians, there is Israelis. These people are saying so, those people are saying so. So the truth is somewhere in the middle, and let's find out where is it. Actually, what's happening is no Jewish organization asked to start attack Palestinians, including American Palestinians or Canadian Palestinians. No one. But there are several organizations, starting from Hamas itself and spreading all over the world, to attack Jews around the world. There is now, Toronto provided police protection to all synagogues,
So first
all
and-
Jewish organizations. No
First
one
and foremost-
provides protection for Palestinians because nobody
here's
is
a question.
asking to attack them. So
Here's a
There
question.
have been
because we're having
several attacks on
fun.
mosques,
Very
and
well.
mosques are actually under
Here's a
heightened
question,
security
Mark.
as well. So there are definitely some
Now-
mosques, even here,
now-
that are under heightened security
Hold
as
on.
well, because there are definitely been attacks on mosques around the
My
globe
fellow-
and everything. So you can't say that that has not been the case.
There
My
is not a
fellow
single
educated
attack on
panelists,
mosques
I have
in
another
Toronto.
question I would like to bring to the panel for you guys. Now, in historically speaking about the history of the world, ever since, man walked up and created civilizations, what were most wars fought over?
Territory.
Land.
Exactly, Nick. So therefore, what does this war have involved within it? Two
It has-
religions, correct?
Yeah, well, that's part.
This war is not
Okay,
religious.
wait,
at all.
Sasha,
Race and
hold
religion.
on.
This is not religious war. It's
So-
a simple
so now-
murder of innocent people.
Hold on, wait.
That's all.
We know for a fact that most wars were fought over religion. We
Not
know that this war itself has two religions, and yes, there are denominations within each religion. Now, in war, what things come out of war? What are those when one group attacks another group, or even in gang violence? What happens in those individuals that are, we'll say, the survivors of the war? Is there any animosity built in that?
Jacoby, you
So-
should be a college professor.
You know what? Not
Jacoby, you
always.
should be a college
know-
professor because you can talk incessantly about stuff that's a waste of time.
Uh,
It's not a waste of time.
I will
avoiding
tell
the
you.
fentanyl crisis in your backyard, that more people died in fentanyl last year than all the Vietnam War and all the war in Afghanistan and all the war in Iraq combined. Now, this is an important topic because it affects you. It affects everybody here. It affects America, and you can do something about it. What's going on right now between Hamas and Israel? It doesn't affect you. You can't do anything about it. And the thing is, it doesn't kill near as much as the fentanyl crisis. But we're all excited because the media said, let's go talk about Hamas and Israel. There's an old saying in sales, which I'm going to bring up, and here it is. A man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still, which means you can talk to the wall, talk to the hand, baby, when you're talking to these people. It's a waste. It is a
It
complete
is not a waste of time because it
Complete
does
waste of
affect
time.
people.
Now, if you
If-
talk to people about fentanyl and how bad this drug is for you, you, Jacoby, may change and save somebody's life in Durham. If you talk about Hamas and Israel, you will save no lives in Durham, no lives in the United States,
Incorrect.
no lives
Hold
everywhere.
on a second.
Incorrect.
Hey, hold on a second.
Here-
If you bring up
here
an
is
interesting
a
point,
fact. Here
hold on a
is a
second, Nick.
fact.
You bring up an
Check
interesting
while you're
point
doing it.
because
But it is
actually
a
one of the letters that I got
waste
recently,
of
and
time.
you can agree or disagree with it, and Jacoby can
No,
agree with it or disagree with it. But there was a former civil rights leader here in this area. Definitely has been involved in Stop the Violence, and all along those lines, he was involved with the NAACP. I think that he's no longer part of the NAACP because there were some questions about ethics and some of the things that he may have done or not done, and all along those lines. But Curtis Gatewood actually brought up a valid point, which is kind of similar to what you bringing up and everything, because he sent out a letter to the editor, and what his letter to the editor said was that there have been massive deaths that have taken place in our community, particularly in the African American community, on a regular basis, and that we probably don't need to be involved in this particular conflict, in this particular thing, until we, in this particular situation in Israel, until we deal with what is going on in the community. And yes, he did call out some of the police violence, because there has been police violence against African Americans, but he also acknowledged some of the violence within our own community as well. And I can actually bring up some of the quotes from the letters. I'm kind of paraphrasing it right now, but he was definitely bringing up the fact that, what those attacks have nothing to do with Israel, have nothing to do with Hamas, and have nothing to do with, he named a couple of the other terrorism groups and everything. But this is, to your point, Nick, something that we can actually have a dealing with that is killing thousands of people right here in the United States on a regular basis, and he gave some figures and all along those lines. Like I said, I'm gonna try to find the letter that was sent to me because, like I said, it was a very controversial letter. I mean, I know it was controversial when I read it and got it all last night and everything, but he had some valid points within the letter and all along those lines.
So my retort would be,
are you getting paid by a university to talk about Hamas? You know what I mean? Like to Toby, if you told me, hey, Nick, I'm really a college professor, I'm getting paid $100,000 a year to talk about this stuff, then it's okay. Go ahead and talk about it. But
here's his exact quote. Hold on a second. I'm going to give you his exact quote and everything, and then I want to hear Toby's retort. But his letter said, "Dear editor, the American people, and especially Black Americans, should not fight another war overseas as long as there are armed American terrorists within America's own Ku Klux Klan, KKK, Confederacy sympathizers, neo-Nazis, terrorists carrying guns within our own law enforcement agencies, mass shooters, and violent gang killings, our people and children daily in the streets. Since 2020, deaths by firearms from American citizens has been the leading cause of death among American youth. Not Hamas, not the Taliban, not Al-Qaeda, not Osama bin Laden, not Saddam Hussein, not the Vietnamese, not the need to ban African countries, not the need to build a wall, not radical Islamic terrorists, not some other boogeyman from the Middle East of Africa or immigrants from Central America. African Americans are 2.3 times more likely to be killed by firearms than our white counterparts. A whopping average of 12,400 Black Americans died from gun violence annually. Moreover, in 2021, the intolerable average number rose much higher to 15,548, the highest number on record. The United States of America is one of the most violent, developed countries on earth. No foreign enemy or dictator or terrorist organization could ever imagine killing as many Americans as America does in killing its own. So what does America look like declaring war overseas when your biggest threat of being violently killed at home is at home? Foolish. And then he goes into the more around the letter. So any response?
Bring this guy on.
So my retort would be, my retort would be,
only because we have to.
Must we only focus on one issue?
Right.
Yeah, because all we did for the last 30 minutes is talk about Hamas and Israel. Okay.
No, but
and
what
so
I'm saying is,
I want to bring the conversation back to home, baby, where we can
there's
actually
nothing talking about multiple things. I'm just saying, must we only focus on one issue? Saying, hey, unless you fix this issue, then you can't do anything else. So that's like saying, okay, unless you figure out how to make how to protect your house from ants, don't worry about roaches.
No, you have to look at all issues, but the unjust amount of time and effort that's going into an issue where only two groups get to make the decision, and the U.S., all those idiots that are protesting in UNC shouldn't be doing that. They should be doing what Mark is saying.
No, incorrect.
The violence here in the United States, something they could actually make
incorrect. Because everything is connected, and that's what we forget. The violence that's going on in Israel and Hamas and the violence that's going on in Ukraine and Ukraine with Russia. You have Ukrainian Americans getting abused by Russian Americans because they think they have a conflict. You have individuals that pick sides and then go after one. Take, for instance, I mean, you can look back in our history. That's what happens. And that's what goes on. People attacked Chinese Americans because they were upset, and the Asian community has been abused because the people were upset because they were being told that it was because of Chinese Americans or Asian Americans that brought over COVID. So if we didn't stop, if we just said, well, we'll just focus on fixing COVID and let the Chinese Americans be attacked, that's how we end up in a problem. If we just say, well, hey, we should just focus on fentanyl, forget that the Israeli Americans or the Jewish Americans are being attacked because there's this anti-Semitism thread that's, growing in the US, that's a problem. If we just say, well, let's all just focus on gun violence and allow the Palestinian Americans to be attacked because there's this growing sentiment and hatred towards Palestinian Americans, that's a problem. We have to realize Everything is connected. We can work on multiple things at one time. There is a term that you could put up called multitasking, and we're supposed to be able to do that.
Well, speaking of multitasking and along those lines, I definitely want to get to another issue, but there is this
Now,
whole conversation, and
class,
that's part of
what did
what
we talk about?
that's part of what I think Reverend Gatewood was talking about, is that there is this notion of the there's a term for it, but it's basically how the military and the industrial military complex, how they all connected. Some people even argue that our prison system is connected to that as well. So there are some interweavings that go on as well, because part of the other letter that I didn't get to, and I'm not going to read the entire letter, was him talking about how we are sending some of our funds and billions of dollars into some of these war efforts, and some of that money could be coming back to help some of the issues that, like the fentanyl crisis, that are going on here as well, and all along those lines. So there is that whole conversation, and that's part of what the protesters have talked about, is the industrial military complex, as it is sometimes phrased, and all along those lines. But speaking of that complex and that industry and everything, and I want to get to another story and another thought, and this is having to do with our good friend, Mr. Trump. But apparently there is, and I hope Lee can jump on this, because there is I know he's worked in the tax industry, and I think he's worked with the IRS, but he can correct me if I'm wrong. But there is an IRS contractor that has pleaded guilty to leaking a whole bunch of tax documents. So it'll be interesting to see what happens in this case, because he's leaked the returns of not just Trump, but several of the other nation's wealthiest individuals to the media. So he is pleading guilty, and we'll see what kind of punishment he gets for this. But apparently he had the tax returns, and he said, hey, y'all need to see these tax returns, so I'm going to give them to you. And now he's pleading guilty to all along those lines. So any thoughts about this apparently whistleblower? But apparently the whistleblower is getting in trouble because he has leaked the returns, and now he is in trouble because he was doing that when he shouldn't have done it, because of rules and regulations within the IRS.
Mark,
Yeah,
and a leak had Trump released his tax
he will
return.
never convict him. He will find defense against the most difficult charges. He's immune to American legal system. American legal system has not been designed to deal with animals like Trump. People like Trump, maybe. Animals like Trump, no. So obviously he will defeat American legal system easily.
And on our latest Odd TV LinkedIn poll, who wins the election is other. So any other person will get 43% of the vote, but Trump's not far behind at 37, and your friend Joe Biden is way behind at 29. Every poll that we've done, tested and retested, show Biden getting smoked. Yet the delusional Democratic Party is going to prop up this octogenarian and say, he's fine, I'm okay. And you know what's going to happen? Trump's going to waltz into the presidency again, because he's got a very solid base. And, and this is what we're seeing right now that's happened on every one of our polls. And the Democrats are delusional. They just go, well,
you say that they're delusional, and there's definitely some things that are probably going to push back, including some of the things that he is saying around Israel and the Middle East. But, he was also accused, and there were some things that were done in reference to the way that he has treated women and a number of others. And now we're having another case, because that's another thing that I was going to get to, because apparently there is a new Cosby-like case, but this time it is going on in that fine place in California, because apparently more than 80 women have accused a U.S. doctor of sexual abuse in a class action lawsuit.
Just to push back, it's not really that they're being delusional. Historically speaking, the incumbent president doesn't really have a challenger. There was nobody against Trump in 2020. There was nobody against Obama when he went back to back. There was nobody against Bush when he went back to back. There was nobody against Clinton. It's just, historically speaking, the incumbent president is already set. There's no primary.
Yeah. Well, historically speaking, the person who wins by double digits in the poll will win the election. And right now, all the polls we've done on LinkedIn, Trump stomps Biden. It's not even close.
But are we
electoral college? Because even you have pointed out this. Hillary
Trump
won the
poll.
popular vote, but he did not win
That's
the election. So a
that's
lot
not the
of that
election,
also has to
though.
do with our electoral college. So when you did the poll, did we figure out where the
Look,
polls were coming
Here's the
from
question:
and whether he is going to
Who
win
did
some of
you?
those
I'm,
swing
I'm
states
just
and
reporting
things
the
along those
numbers.
lines? Because we do know that you
You know,
can win the
wailing and
popular
gnashing
vote
of the
and
teeth
still
of the
lose the
Democratic
election.
Party will take place. The wailing and gnashing of the teeth, the Democratic Party will take place next year when Trump gets inaugurated. I mean, that's just.
I mean, again, we do not know.
You guys
The
want to
key
change
is to
history.
get out and vote.
You know what insanity is? Doing the same thing over and over again, expecting the same result. That's called the Democratic Party. They figure if they
No.
do the same thing over and over again,
Not
over
really.
and over again, well, this is the way we always do it. This way we'll always do it. That something's going to change.
But
Okay,
the Republican Party does it too.
you need to change.
The
more
Republican Party
than
does the same thing, Nick.
So you're saying that
the
'cause
Republican,
right now,
as I
hold
pointed
on a
out,
second,
they're
because right now it
winning.
seems like both parties have been
Are winning.
hijacked by
parties know
the
it.
extremes of their party. Because some
The
people would say that
incumbent-
the
the
left
incumbent
side of
of
the Democrats
the
is who is
party-
in control, and some people would say that the right side of Republican
hold on.
Party is who is in
The-
control, and that the
That's
middle
right.
ground
Trump
is who is
was-
being ignored and everything.
Trump was a weak runner in 2020. We was a weak candidate in 2020. They ran Trump in when Obama went back to back. People said Obama was a weak candidate. Obama was the candidate. Didn't have when Bush went back to back. They said Bush was a weak candidate. He ended up winning. It's just that's
And
just
Jacoby,
what happened.
what happened in the midterms? Because there was a lot of pro-Trump people that were running, and as I recall,
that's
I
another
want to say
thing.
that they got devastated in the midterm
Yes.
elections and
A
everything.
lot. The big pull from the midterms is that the Trump-backed candidates lost.
Exactly.
So you can't say that Trump is going to run away with it.
I'm talking about we're sitting today, Jacoby. You
But
like
is
to
the vote today?
what did the Republican Party do in
Nick, is the vote today?
Today,
Is
your
the
man
vote
loses.
is the
Today,
vote today?
Trump goes in the door.
Is the vote today, Nick?
Biden's gone. No, he's got
Thank
a year.
you. So then you're just talking about a
Let's put it this
pre-poll.
way. The old man better pull something out of his hat. 'Cause right
You're
now
talking
he's
about
got
a
a
pre-poll.
year.
The
do
pre-poll
it.
doesn't
Well,
happen.
speaking of
I don't
pulling
think
stuff
we'll
out of the hat,
answer
there has
that.
been a conversation
Yeah.
around a group that apparently even Trump is going after, but now they have come to a resolution because we've talked about this on the World Edition as well. But apparently there is a tentative deal because one of the largest healthcare strikes was also going on and everything. But there is a tentative deal with Kaiser Permanente, and they have come up with a plan to alleviate the strike, at least for now. There are times that you can alleviate it for a moment, and then it might rear its ugly head again and everything. But for right now, it seems like they are found an agreement, just like
What
the
poll
Hollywood
are you
writers
talking
have found an agreement as well. But they have reached a tentative agreement, and part of that is around pay and around conditions and around a number of other concerns that they have had, and all along those lines. But hey, at least for now, the whole notion of the disagreement is settled, at least for now. So will the labor play a part in this conversation as well? Because labor has played a big role in many elections. So I guess I'll throw that as a question.
But which poll are you talking about?
Okay, I'm talking about the polls that we do on Pod TV, LinkedIn. However, our polls are also being joined by other polls like Washington Post, and there was another one that also came down. And they're all the polls. So it's not just our polls. It's now everybody's poll is showing your friend Joe Biden getting smoked.
I don't know about everybody's poll because I'm looking directly at the 538 poll, and the 538 poll, which pulls the Fox News poll, they are neck and neck.
Neck and neck meaning who wins?
They are tied.
Oh, they're tied.
41%.
Well, that would be a big victory for Joe, given what I've been seeing. If maintain it close. But what I've been seeing is really, really.
No, I've seen several polls, Nick, where they are very much in a dead heat, and there have been a couple of polls that have put them in a dead heat in this particular race. I mean, there's a lot of people that are wanting neither. So, like I said, we might have a case where there is an argument for a third party or somebody to come along and win. Because I think in your own poll, it was like 50% who wanted neither. And there, you go out, if I was to go out in the street today and ask the folks in Durham if they were satisfied with either of the candidates, the overwhelming majority would probably say they wish there was another alternative because there is a lot of folks that are frustrated by both campaigns.
on our polls, the third party actually does win, but at the same time, this is the problem with the Democratic Party. Okay, who did they groom? Let's say Joe Biden gets an injury, he gets a stroke. Who did they? Because that's what you have here in football. You have a hamstring pull and you're out of the game.
But we're back to the historical part.
All right, but let's say, well, this is how the Democratic Party is so dumb, but frankly, both parties are. Who's the second string who they're going to throw in? Who's the person they groom? What's the debate that they're doing so we can know we can bring in their backup quarterback? They don't have one.
I need
Neither
to,
does the-
it's a valid
neither does the
question,
Republican
but
Party.
I would like to ask you
They
the
don't
same thing about Republicans.
Yeah.
They groom. Okay, here's a Trump. They can't even find the Speaker of the House. They have majority.
Yeah.
And they cannot find a speaker. You are talking of parties that cannot govern.
It's
And
functional.
Nick, I want to tell us.
But you can also blame the Democratic Party on this
Okay,
dysfunction
that's fine.
because
No,
the
you
can't.
Democratic Party could back a
Sometimes-
Republican
Nick,
candidate, but
Nick,
they won't.
Now, Nick, you know that is
Sometimes
untrue.
parties
That is
Democratic
untrue,
Party
Nick.
could back
arguing about
a
outcomes. For example,
Republican. They
sport
won't.
event.
Nick,
This
you know
is
that's
the
untrue.
Democratic Party.
No,
Nick,
that's what is going to say.
That
So
is wrong.
where
Democrats
That
there's
is
the
completely
line,
wrong.
the real.
Democrats
Historically
need to eat it,
speaking,
You
baby.
go to
You know that the
Putin,
Republican
no,
Party
no,
will
no.
never back
And you
any
see what
Speaker
is
of the
what's-
House that's Democrat.
and what
They
are
could
those
back
that
McCarthy,
see?
but they didn't.
Now I
Democrats
myself
need to eat,
offer
baby. Eat.
Nope.
that
They
anybody
do,
can
baby.
accept it. Here
The
is why
Democratic Party delusion
all
now.
this to talk. Put your money on the line.
Who
$500
would- here's the thing.
Democratic Party.
that
If
Trump
the Democrat,
is not
now the
going
ironic
to
thing
be
is
elected
Joe,
president
dumb
in
the ironic thing
2024.
is Nancy
$500,
Pelosi
no
is in the
talks.
same position.
Now money talks. The bullshit walks. Okay, here is money. $500. Trump is not going to be president-elect in 2024. Put your money on
Nancy-
the line. If you believe that Trump,
Nick-
he has a great polls, he has great numbers, he has that and this, put $500. There's nothing to discuss. That's it.
But Nick, there is no Republican that backed a Democrat House Speaker. So that is the way that it works in the House, and it just does that.
That's
And
the
then
way
on
we
top of
always
that,
do it. Hey,
Nancy
come on, man. I
Pelosi,
heard that in my homeowners association.
Nancy
Chitobi.
Nancy
That's the way
Pelosi,
we always do it. This is Washington, D.C. That's the way we
Nancy-
always do it.
Nancy
You know, we don't
Pelosi
cross
had the
party lines.
same. Nancy
Because we're
Pelosi had the
Washington,
same
D.C.
difference, or that same separation, and was able to become Speaker of the House.
Hey, look, look. Their dysfunction is my problem. Unfortunately,
The Republican Party is dysfunctional.
It is my problem. Okay, just
The
because
Republican
the
Party is
Democratic
dysfunctional.
Party is dysfunctional
Nope.
because they're going, that's the way we always do it, doesn't
Not
mean
really.
that they can change and make a difference.
Who
only
leads
thing
the
that
House?
Changes. They have
Who-
no leadership.
Thank
They
you.
have no
Who is
response,
the majority
they
in the
have no
House?
independence, and they are.
Who is the majority in the House?
Wait a minute. You can't say the Democrats don't have any leadership. Hakeem Jeffries is the leader
Yeah,
of the
Hakeem
Democratic
Jeffries.
Party now.
The Democrats are all set.
Well,
They have
then
leadership.
he needs to get off his butt and back a bloody candidate
Why?
so we have a speaker.
Why? It's the
wrong with these
Republican
people?
Party who puts
Oh,
up
they love their
bills.
party. Okay, so what you're telling me is Jeffries takes party over a country. Thank you,
No,
Democratic
that's the Republican Party.
What?
Why can't the Republican Party lead?
Hey, because they can't. Okay, so they can't.
There,
That
we're
means
done. We're done. You
Democrats
answered.
need to get in there
You answered.
and lead, and they won't.
So
because
if
this
the
is the way we
Republican
always do it.
Party,
This is
but
the
Nick,
way we always
that
do
right
it.
there
Why
tells
don't
you
they
where the
make Trump
dysfunction
a
lies.
This is the way we
Trump
always
is the
do
best
it.
You answered
speaker
the question.
since sliced bread.
You-
Make
You answered
Trump
the
a
question. You said exactly that the Republican Party
Oh.
cannot lead. So if the Republican Party cannot lead, however, they're supposed to lead, that means the dysfunction lies where the party in power cannot lead.
Yeah, then you need
So
to
you
step
cannot blame the Democrats.
Okay, then you need to step to the plate. You need to step to the plate, Democratic Party.
If
And
the Democrats,
lead.
if the Democrat Party put up a
Follow or get the hell out of the way. Well, they
the
can't do
Democrat
that.
Party put up Hakeem Jeffries. Why didn't the Republicans support him? All they need is a couple.
Yeah, they should. But they're not even
But the
playing
Republican
game
Party,
because
wait.
that's
The
the way we
Republican
always do
Party,
it. That's the way we always do
but
it.
Nick,
That's the way
they
we always
put
do
up
it.
somebody.
You don't
They
understand.
did put up
This is
Jeffries. They put up
Yeah.
Jeffries as a candidate, and they did not get any
We're
support.
party people. We're
Nick,
not Americans. We don't
Nick,
believe in
hold on.
America. We believe in
Hakeem
Democrats
Jeffries
and
was put
Republicans.
up.
That's the way we always do.
Hakeem
I'm a
Jeffries was put
Democrat.
up.
I'm a Republican. That's
But
the
Nick,
way
I'd
we
like to
always
ask
do
you
it.
something. Based on what you just said,
Hakeem
Nick,
Have
Jeffries.
some independence.
Nick,
Hakeem
Come on,
do
Jeffries
guys.
you
was
believe
put
that
up.
Trump
Some
would make
chutzpah
a
up
good
there.
Speaker of the
Hakeem
House?
Jeffries was put up.
We're tired of these weak people.
Nick,
Tell me, do you see
Hey, wait a minute.
Hakeem Jeff-
Tosh
why
asked
did
this-
Republicans
Tosh asked
vote
this
for
question. I
Hakeem
know we've heard it before, but is there any possibility that Mr. Trump would be Speaker of the House and everything? And if so, would that
No.
jeopardize or help his presidency?
Nope.
Come on, Mark. He's too much of a egomaniac. It's presidency or nothing.
Yep.
So forget Trump. He's not going to do jack.
But
And
again,
like what Sasha says, Trump is about one person. Trump.
Yep.
Okay. But Congress, if they had any brains and would someday put the American public ahead of their stupid party
Hakeem Jeffries.
for the House.
All you need is a couple of Republicans to turn over and vote Hakeem Jeffries in.
Okay, good. Then the Democrats need to go in and make a deal.
They've done that.
They're
Well,
trying to make
good,
a deal
where's
with
our
Hakeem
speaker?
Jeffries.
Where's our speaker, Jacoby?
The Republican Party won't vote for him.
Oh, so they can't get
You don't
anything
need
done.
party, you need
They're all
2-3
party
people, that's all.
Wait,
No,
wait, wait.
you need 217
You
votes,
complain-
and the
Come on,
vote, that's
now,
the
Nick,
problem is that they
You
have to have
complain
the majority
that the
of the
Democrats
votes and
won't
everything
vote
in
way
order to
we
get the
always
Speaker of the
do.
House, because I think it's 217 is what you
Guys.
need.
All you need is 6 Republicans to vote for Hakeem Jeffries, but the Republican Party, none of them will vote for a Democrat. But yet you complain and say that the Democrat Party should vote for a Republican when all you need is
I'll go
6
either way.
for the
I don't-
Republican
I don't-
Party.
I don't give a rat's rear. I honestly, I don't give a rat's rear, Jacoby. I'll bring a Democrat in the speaker. I'll bring a Republican. I don't care. But what I do care about is this mentality. That's the way we always do it. It's a stupid mentality. Then the other stupid mentality is the party mentality. I got to be a Democrat. I got to be Republican. And Lord, we cannot agree on anything because that's the way we always do it. And
But
that's
isn't, Nick, correct me if I'm wrong, but and
mental
Jacoby
attitude.
is my
It's
understanding,
so
and I could be wrong about this, but isn't there a rise in the number of people that are listing themselves as unaffiliated or not of either
There we
Democrat
go. That's
or
what we should
Republican
have done.
because there is frustration on both sides. So I want to say that in the United States there has been a
That's right.
rise in those that are listing themselves as unaffiliated.
Yeah, you know, the thing is, when you go to law school, the first thing they do is we're going to teach you to think and teach you to analyze. Now, I just won 2 Florida State championships. I hate to say I was insulted by that statement by the professor. We're going to teach you how to think and analyze. What do you think I did for like the last 5 years of my life? But anyway, the whole idea was to make people thinking independently. And oddly enough, a lot of
No, hold on a
lawyers.
second, but wait a minute. I got to loop it back to the earlier conversation because we get mad when people think and analyze and they don't think and analyze the way we want them to think and analyze because
That's-
apparently
that's
that is
because
part of
the
the
parties like
conversation
this
that has been
iron
going on
grip.
even in the
Mark?
Israeli war and everything because some people are thinking and analyzing and they are making their own judgments about that situation
Yeah,
and everything. So they have been thinking and analyzing.
That's
We might
the
not
way
agree
we
with
always
their,
do it.
their analysis, but they have the right to make that analysis.
Yeah, no, they have the right to be stupid. In the United States, there in the Constitution, it says you have the right to be stupid. It's like Article 1 of the Constitution of the United States. But it doesn't
But you
matter.
said that you won't.
We
You
as
said
the
you won't praise
media
them for doing critical
right
thinking.
now
They did critical
is-
thinking. They looked at the situation. They looked at the way that the world was, and they made a choice as to who they were going to go for. And sometimes they were looking at historical facts because some of those facts are also wiped under the rug because there are a number of things that have been going on
There's more
historically. But that's going to be a whole nother discussion.
You don't have
We
a
can get into
Speaker
this
of the House.
later and everything. I was actually going to end on a lighter note because we've had a very intense discussion and everything. So I know we got Ukraine, Russia, and China coming up and everything. But if you want a lighter note, and Jacoby will get this and get a big kick out of this. Apparently, you know, with all this dark stuff that is going on in the world, there is a contest that takes place in Alaska, and there is a bear named Grazer 128 that apparently is the winner of the Fat Bear Week because there in Alaska they have nothing better to do than pick a fat bear. So definitely they say that this single mother is thicker than a bowl of oatmeal, and that's who won the Alaska's Fat Bear Week. So definitely give a big shout outs to Grazer 128. Gotta love that name, because I guess they're out there grazing all the time. So Jacoby, I just gave you a bunch of fuel. So you want to end with some comedy, since you are definitely our resident improv person. I opened it up for you.
I did have a little bit of comedy, and it was very edgy, because you did have to call on the one black guy and say, we're going to the darker side. And then now both the two white gentlemen have left, and now we really are in the dark side. It's me and you.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just me and you, and we're going to sit there, and apparently there's a very lovely bear that has won there in Alaska. I wonder what, since we were staying on the political line, I wonder if Palin was there at that particular...
She was still in the corner staring at Russia.
No, right. She was in the corner staring at Russia, trying to figure out who was over there, because she could see it from her window. Wasn't that her infamous quote, that she could see Russia from
Russia from my house? Good old Sarah Palin.
That was her infamous quote, and all along those lines. Well, we're just going to congratulate Grazer, and we're getting ready to get on out of here. But yes, apparently Grazer 128 won the Fat Bear, and I'm thinking that, that bear might be upset at being called fat. So this could be a whole other discussion as to whether bears have rights and all along those lines. Because if I was a bear, I might not be too pleased about being called a fat bear. But hey, that's what they call it in Fat Bear Week and everything. So they might be a little bit upset, and maybe they got to get bear rights as well.
I mean, it could be Big Bear.
Could be.
That's already taken.
Exactly. Big Bear has already been taken. And, the Smoky Bear has already been taken. So, yeah, it didn't have much choice.
Yeah.
On that note, we're going to get on out of here. Like I said, try to end with a little bit of lightness, because there was definitely some intense discussions as well. And we'll be back with more intense discussions on next week on Monday. And of course, there's other shows that are going on this week as well. But we're going to get on out of here. And all along those lines, we'll have just really quickly. Lee, I see that you popped in. We were just talking about really quick as we we're getting ready to get on out of here. Apparently, there was a bear that won the Fat Bear Week. So we're just me and Jacoby. So I'm glad that there was another voice that was able to join us for the bear discussion. So any thoughts about the Fat Bear as I get ready to get on out of here and everything? But yeah, the bear was named winner. You're on mute.
I heard about that. There's food available, so there's no reason for him to hibernate anymore.
Exactly. Good point.
It was a good show today. I listened to most of the show. I just was driving, so I really couldn't join in. A couple, comments here and there, but I'll see you all next week.
Sounds good. We're going to get on out of here. Look forward to it.
Take care.
Bye.
Take care, Jacoby.
See you, Lee. Have a good weekend.
You too. God bless.
God bless.
Same to you.